presenter is Chauncey Holloman, who this is a rebirth of a previous startup, right? Okay, awesome. So we're going to hear from Chauncey about her story.
Hey everyone, how are you doing this morning? Okay. Like you said, my name is Chauncey Holloman. I am the owner and CEO of Harlem Lyrics and Renaissance Clothing. It started as a stationery company. I started in 2003, so we're kind of old. And we started a clothing line in 2008. So I'll give you a little bit of background about my characters, and then it's something I want you guys to take a listen to. So the characters are 5 major characters. Starting from the very left, there's Lyric, BB, Precious, Jamie down here, and Harlem. And all 5 of these characters are based after myself and my sisters and my best friend. And they all kind of took on lives of their own very easily. My background is in mass communications and theater. I went to Parkview High School and was a theater major there. Went on to study theater in college and marketing. And so it was a natural transition for me to give these very ethnic, very urban characters full names and personalities and backgrounds. Didn't realize that was weird until further on down the line. And I started when I was 15 years old. And it became a very big mission of mine very early on to have teenagers be the driving force of this company. So in partnership with my mother, which she was the bank, of course, for the first 2 or 3 years easily, we all came together, and I wrote all the lyrics for the greeting cards because I also do creative writing. I hired a young man around the same age as me, 15, 16, to write from a male's perspective because I had no idea how to do that. Actually, we got about 60 cards in before my own dad said, well, I would like to give my daughter one of her own cards one day, but you don't have any from a male perspective. And I said, oh, I don't. And so I had to hire a guy to write from a male's perspective. One of my illustrators was a teenager, and we just went on from there, and Harlem Lyrics grew really big. So one of the things we did early on that I thought was really fun is we met a local rapper that was doing just like every other local rapper, trying to make it on the scene, trying to get some kind of notoriety, selling demos. And so I commissioned him to write a theme song for Harlem Lyrics. So if we could go back and start again, it should play. Be careful with the volume. Okay.
Yep. What up, world? It's your boy Harlem, just giving y'all an introduction to Harlem Lyrics and also telling you about the musical group Harlem's Own. So sit back and enjoy yourself, alright? Let's go. We live good, and you know the bars to get it, and there's no need to argue, we all terrific. Y'all knowing how the stars do, ball exquisite, and this is just an introduction. Welcome Harlem Lyrics. We live good, and you know the bars to get it, and there's no need to argue, we all terrific. Y'all knowing how the stars do, ball exquisite, and this is just an introduction. Welcome Harlem Lyrics. Hey yo, it's Harlem, basically the best in rap. People hear it and decide they should invest in that. I got Lyric on my side. She the best, in fact, she the only type of girl I think best to match with me. And my girl Jamie, she stayed with stacks, self-centered bout spinach, so they hatin' that. Yeah, my girl BB, the real hood type, you know, rude, ghetto, crazy, and ready for a fight. Your boy smooth, mellow, amazing, ready for a night. Could find that in Harlem's Zone, about ready for the flight to take off. I promise you we'll be the next y'all. The best bars plus Precious is ready to bless y'all. My dogs spittin', pursuing it just cause we hard, and the rest of the music is just flaws. So y'all, just leave the bars alone. And in case you get mistaken, this is Harlem's Own. We live good, and you know the bars to get it, and there's no need to argue, we all terrific. Y'all know how.
And if you could enter the site too. So because of that that promo that he was able to do for us, it gave him a little bit of notoriety, and to show that he had worked for a couple of professional companies, and then he went forward to open for a couple of big named rappers and upcoming rappers. So really it was kind of paying it forward, giving another young entrepreneur a shot at something, and just watching it grow from there. Like we said before, it's based on 5 major characters, and those characters kind of dictate what products they're on. Like you got the little bit of their personalities in the opening song. for instance, Precious is our very spiritual character. She, part of her background was she was raised in the church like many African American people or Southern people are in general. And so all of our sympathy cards have her on the front. So it's kind of geared towards the individual characters' personalities. We got some pretty big notoriety early on. It took us about 1 month to get our first major contract, which was Kroger's grocery store. And we got Kroger's by basically sending press kits. We blanketed the world with press kits. They went to everyone. And we pitched to Kroger's, and they told us that they already had an African-American line of greeting cards. And we asked them, well, were they for youths? Because this line is very much geared towards the teen and young adult market, as is obvious by the images. And I told them by my pitch, I said, well, I started Harlem Lyrics because when I was 15, I went looking for a greeting card for my best friend's 16th birthday. And there was nothing that spoke from the standpoint or the personality of a teenager. They were either way too youthful with the, you know, Bob the Builder, SpongeBob, Dora the Explorer cards. And then you skipped completely, and it's happy anniversary to my husband of 10 years. And so there was nothing for us in the middle. And so something as obvious thinking as, how about a greeting card for a boyfriend? You know, how about a greeting card for a BFF? There was no market for that. So we came up with Harlem Lyrics, and I did the pitch to Kroger's, and they said, well, we love the pitch, we'd love to have your products, but Hallmark owns our entire greeting card slottage. They own the slottage. I said, well, do they own the aisle? Because if not, we can put a spinner rack in it. And that's exactly what happened. And we were in about 40 Kroger stores. So that was our very first contract. We were, all in all, we have been able to be in Kroger's, Walgreens, Border Books, Simply Fashions, It's Fashions, because they're kind of the same, and Macy's department store. We were in 33 Macy's stores in Macy's East, which is the Chicago through Maine kind of region. Of course, the Chicago and New York stores did phenomenal. We were happy to be in the flagship Macy's store and took up quite a bit of space there. The company has been doing great. As you can see in front of you, we started with greeting cards, and we quickly spanned over into notebooks and folders, kind of covering that school supply group. And then we got a call from Macy's that asked if we would be interested in doing holiday gift packets, which would basically have, you know, a couple cards and maybe a notebook and folder. And I said, of course, you know, we were really excited about it. And then the buyer called us back and said, unfortunately, I'm not the buyer for any type of gift sets. I'm the buyer for clothing. So I overstepped and said that we'd like to have your products, and the stationery, you know, person has already filled their quota. And I said, you're the buyer for what? And they say, he said, well, we're the buyer for Junior's clothing. I said, well, if you give me a month, I'll have T-shirts. And so we cranked it out and had a line of T-shirts called Renaissance Clothing, so that way we could kind of cover that high-scale client market of Macy's while not diminishing their brand by selling our products in Kroger's and places like that too. So that's how we ended up with Harlem Lyrics and Renaissance Clothing. And this is actually one of our T-shirts. We had to get the older young adult range and not just the teen range. We decided to go not just for the characters, but do basic graphic tees as well that could tie back to the Harlem Lyrics line. And that one of our concerns was, how are we going to let people know that this is the same as the characters? It's the same company, because they look different. And so the tag that was on the T-shirts was a little bitty greeting card that had the 5 characters on it, and you opened it and it explained the characters in the story. So that way we were able to tie back Harlem Lyrics to Renaissance Clothing. I'm sure I'm probably out of time. We've been able to do... I'm good? Okay. We were able to do some really big media early on and throughout the years of Harlem Lyrics, and we've been in a Cosmopolitan magazine once I got of age. We were in Cosmo Girl magazine twice. We were on BET News, Black Enterprise magazine, and just a number of different local magazines. And of course, every time that stirred another uptick in where we're going. Currently, we have about 3 or 4 open pitches that are ready for Harlem Lyrics, and we're just waiting to hear back. And we're just constantly looking for ways to share these 5 characters with the world. They're really important to me, not just because they're based on myself and my family, but because the entire point of Harlem Lyrics was to show a very positive and approachable way into the hip-hop industry, because the hip-hop industry is obviously more than just music. It's the ability to openly free express yourself however that may be. If you want to wear 36 colors in one outfit, do it. If you want your hair to be huge in the circumference of the world, do it. You know, so it's all about being who you are, unabated by what anyone else thinks. And so it was very important for me to give that freedom to whoever was willing to take a chance with Harlem Lyrics, while the clothing still being very modest, still being very wearable, so parents were comfortable with buying what was popular for their young girls. So that's Harlem Lyrics in a nutshell. And we got any questions?
First question. Anyone? Lucas.
I'll be that guy. So when you were saying in the beginning that you had hired some teen writers to best fit your target market, what does your team look like today?
Today, actually, in 2008, I was probably maybe 20, and much like young adults, I got bored with the greeting cards, and I just stopped. So we are looking into reopening the greeting cards with our new, more advanced characters, because if you can take a look at our first greeting cards, the greeting cards came years before everything else. So let's see if I can get one that has enough people on it. I'll take this one. This was originally BB, for those of you that can see it. And no. And this is her now. And so they went from a very two-dimensional to a three-dimensional world. They kind of grew up with me. And so we're interested in looking at creating some more greeting cards just to tie them back to the way the characters look now. So right now we're not writing any new greeting cards, but we're looking at doing it in the future. It won't be me, because it's sad to say I outgrew my own target market. And I was made aware of that. It's a very funny story. I was in a line at a grocery store, and somebody picked up something, and they said, well, we're going so-and-so, so-and-so, but we'll be a few minutes late. And the girl behind me, she said, oh, that's fine, that's Gucci. And I said, what does that mean? And so I was finally aware that I am too old to write for teenagers, so it won't be me, but we'll get them.
Next question.
Hi, Joe Calhoun, Halsey Calhoun. Back in the day, you were probably, if not the first in the space, close to the first in this space that I recall. You probably aren't now. And what's going to be your strategy for differentiating yourself from the people you're going to try to displace, so to speak?
Okay. Well, I think one of the biggest strong suits that Harlem Lyrics has in their points of differentiation is our characters. They're very specific. People may copy, or people may also have urban and ethnic greeting cards as the years go on, but they won't have Jamie, Precious, BB, Lyric, and Harlem. And people that have attached to this brand have attached to a very specific character. They've decided that Jamie is their favorite. And it was really heartwarming one day. I found that one of one particular customer of ours sent us a couple of pictures on our email where she was just keeping all of the greeting cards, kind of like mini posters. And so she had decorated her room with Jamie products. And so I think that's one of the things that will differentiate us, is that the attachment that people have to these specific characters.
Hi, Lynn folks. My uncle's Gourmet Barbecue Sauce. Do you have need of creative persons as far as writing poems and things for your cards?
If we if we do what we said before, and we do revitalize the greeting card line, we will need some more writers, but I'll probably cap them at 18. because we want to be able to make sure that they authentically speak from the point of view of teenagers. He's coming. He's right behind you. Oh, wait, we got...
Abby Sims with iDestiny Dev Studio. Have you considered going digital in your strategy and, say, not the online greeting cards necessarily, but utilizing some of these shorter length platforms to do animated skits?
Yes, actually. We have 2 animated series that have been written, and those some of the pitches we're waiting to hear back from. That is, of course, based on the lives of the 5 characters, and they all go to St. James High, you know, all part of the background that I unnecessarily made in the beginning. But it made it incredibly easy to write an animated series based on the characters between that and my background in theater. So we're waiting to hear back from that. We also have another animated series that has nothing to do with Harlem Lyrics, and it's based on Egyptian mythology.
I'm sorry, I've got a cold. Terry Bessier with Know Your Finances.
Okay.
And I am so impressed with what you were saying about your pitches. You were ready for them, and then you were able to change it on a dime. Did you coach yourself? Did someone help you? How did you go about getting a pitch? Not 6 pitches, but how did you get that pitch?
That answer is probably twofold. One of them is I absolutely coach myself. When you are in the arts or any type of theater, you get really comfortable with practicing with yourself. So I would sit in front of the mirror, and instead of singing into a brush, I would run pitches, in front of the mirror. And I did that for a very long time. And I'm a 3rd-generation entrepreneur. My family is very much entrepreneurial based, which is really what gave me some of that fearlessness, is that I have about 7 family members with running businesses. So that's my platform for how do you get it started and who do you talk to. So there was that. And I also, it has a lot to do with the fearlessness of being 16. There's nothing that's not possible when you're 16. You couldn't tell me I wasn't going to be the next Beyonce if I wanted to be. So, all that combined. And we didn't actually look up how to pitch to stores, because technically the process goes, you start with your local store and then try to get a regional account and then try to get a national account. And we Googled headquarters and just blanketed the world with press kits. So they trickled down, and that's how we got quite a few of our first stores. No problem.
What was your thought when you started hearing back, or maybe not even hearing back, from the places that you sent the press kits to? I mean, was there a mindset ever of like, man, maybe they don't like it? Or did you have, was it like that moment where you finally got one back and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah? Or
yeah. Well, when we sent them out, it was very exciting. It was very funny, and I enjoyed it. And we thought the greeting cards were great. But what I didn't say in the beginning is when we sent out all these press kits, I only had 8 cards. I had 8 designs, and they were huge. They were not the standard size. And so when we heard back from some of them, and they said, we'll take 10,000 SKUs of so and so, so and so. Me and my mom's first reaction was shit. So luckily enough, a lot of our products were made locally, so we were able to go and say, can you do this? And some of them were able to. And the negative pitches we got back were expected. You're expecting it, and it's part of again being an artist is you do 29 auditions and you get 2 yeses, and that's a good month. So we were never really afraid of the rejection. These are characters that were close to my heart anyway, so if they didn't like them, then they weren't for them.
Got where? Oh.
2 over here.
You talked about seeing an opportunity with the clothing line that you really weren't expecting, and then you were able to meet that pretty quickly. Have there been other opportunities that have presented themselves that you said, this is too far out of our core competency or our comfort zone, and you said no to?
Yes. We had a a pretty promising pitch with Target at one point that wanted to do a bundle all of pretty much everything. They wanted cards, notebook, folder, T-shirt, and a set of holiday cards in one bundle. And the cost for the packaging for that was more than what we could spend at the time. And it ended up just not being a great deal and a great price point for us. So although we would have loved to have Target, it was the better choice for us to step back from that. Now, we did say, you know, if we separate these items out, we may be able to get them, fill them in your stores separately, but the price, the bundle is something we couldn't do.
And
You had mentioned cost. How did you obtain the original financing to do everything you set out to do? Was that a pocket? Did you go through banks? You know, investor? How did you get started financially?
We were out of pocket for the first 3 years, which sounds as scary as it was. Our very first pocket of money was actually my mom's income tax return check. I actually begged her for it and said, I mean, this really wasn't even money that you were expecting to get. I mean, it's like I'm asking for your paycheck. And it's a funny story because she told me, if I give this to you, this amount of money to you, I need you to write me a business plan as to where you see Harlem Lyrics going. And I was 15. And so I was like, sure, I'll write a business plan. The heck's a business plan? So after some internet research, I gave her some flimsy 10-page, plan of what I thought Harlem Lyrics was capable of, and actually what she was doing in that time. She told me years later, she said, I knew I was going to give you the check from the beginning. She said, but that gave me a month to raise more money so that when you were ready and when I knew you were serious enough about starting this small business, we would have enough to fund our first round of 8 cards. And something I forgot to mention that is something different that Harlem Lyrics did, because I went so far in depth with who these characters were. We started in 2003, so around 2003 and 4, the MySpace had kind of died out, and Facebook was the new big thing to have. And so on a whim one night, I created Facebook pages for all 5 characters. And so at one point, I was manning about 7 Facebook pages. It was mine, the 5 characters, and the Harlem Lyrics page in general. And it was updates of where each character was and what they were doing. And Harlem plays several different instruments, so he was going to cello practice. And so it was a funny thing to do, but I think that in turn really added to how people connected to a certain character and felt that connectivity, and then in turn bought that character's products.
Awesome. Well, I have a few preset questions that I've had on my mind before the presentation. One is tell briefly about your experience with the Governor's Cup, because I know that was one thing that kind of I feel like in terms of our community really put a spotlight on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. The Governor's Cup changed the game for Harlem Lyrics. It really did. The Governor's Cup was right around the time that we were pitching to Macy's. And of course, Macy's gave us 33 stores, which was thousands upon thousands of SKUs of product. And again, we were like, shit. And so the Governor's Cup, if you're familiar with it, if you get past the semifinals, you get 1,000. And if there's like 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, I said, I have to win this. And my mom said, well, if we place, I said, no, I have to win this. I need the entire 20,000, because that money is what we did in turn use to print that amount of product to get to the Macy's stores. And so the Governor's Cup was really the only reason we were able to fill that Macy's order. So for that, it was a wonderful experience. It gave my college and myself a little bit of media attention, which was great, but it really helped Harlem Lyrics go to that next step in development. And to piggyback on your question, that's how we funded for our first. We were probably 8 years in before we got anything that was a bank loan or venture capital loan. We funded Harlem Lyrics through competitions. I've won about 25 national, local, and regional competitions. All cash prizes, all to pay for Harlem Lyrics.
Question is, talk a little bit about your other job.
Oh, okay. Much like an entrepreneur, I have a 9-to-5 as well. And I work for the City of Little Rock in the Small Business Development Office. And so all day I meet new startups, new people at various areas of development, and they come into the office and say, I have this great idea to start a mobile pizzeria food truck, and what do I do next? And so it's really exciting because I get to see people that were at that level that I was at 10 years ago and help encourage them and show them how to do it the legitimate way. Like go register with the City of Little Rock. Don't look at all the loans that are out there yet. That it's very tempting, but that may not be the best idea. So I enjoy entrepreneurship in general. I think it's the backbone of our state. And so I love being able to work around it every day.
Question. Talk a little bit about the Minority Founders Initiative that we're trying to piece together here in Little Rock.
I kind of bogarted a spot today to present because I wanted to plug the Minority Founders meetup that we have. We have our first meetup scheduled for this Thursday from 5:30 to 6:30, and it's our introductory meetup. And some of the goals are really just to talk about entrepreneurship in an open forum, what our ideas are, what your struggles are, because hopefully someone else in that group has been through that point and can help you push past it and help you find a solution for it. And so we plan to talk to each other about our goals, how we may be able to help each other as consumers of each other's brand, and more importantly to me, what entrepreneurship can do for the minority community in Central Arkansas. So please sign up. We're on the AVC website down at the bottom. It says Minority Meetup. Join. I'm looking at you specifically because you're a new face. Join, and we'll see you guys Thursday at 5:30, and let's talk about some positive change.
Awesome. Thank you, Chauncey. Give it up for Chauncey. All right, so you're a 1 Million Cups regular. You know how it happens. What's the one thing that we can do for you and for Harlem Lyrics as a community?
I said before that we're kind of a restart up because we took a hiatus for about 2 years. So getting the word back out, thanks to Roby Brock and Talk Business and Politics, we were able to get a nice article going. So we really need to start some more buzz. And I've heard someone else that was presenting at 1 Million Cups say this once. So for whatever reason, it's the hardest to get your own community to give you a shot, so to speak. We were able to be in so many different regions, but it never really kicked off that well here. And so if anybody has contacts at Dillard's or Walmart, give them a call, say, what the heck? And I'd really appreciate that. You know, we really want to get some of our products here because they're made here. I'm here, and, you know, that's Little Rock, kind of born and bred Harlem Lyrics, so I'd love to get that stamp out here. So we're looking for mom and pops, the big corporations that are from here, to just kind of expand with the products that we have already.
Awesome. We'll give it up for her one more time.